Hello, 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 and welcome to another week in review here on my channel. This is week 19 of stuff that I did this week, I guess, hey? We'll start by looking really quickly over my pose practice stuff. This is, what is it? June 20th to today, which is the 27th? 26th. Yeah, so I was just mentioning recently that I've been kind of struggling with, and you can see it here, this kind of central mass area. It's kind of consistently been the most difficult thing from the beginning and all the way until now. I think today's looks fine, more or less, but as we go along, I'll show you ahead, mostly today's. I found that I was really kind of struggling with them, so I'll explain that as we move along, but I think what I'm doing is maybe relying too much on the actual structure underneath and like trying to draw this like weird structural stuff that I have instead of really focusing on just drawing the pose. I think I could probably focus on just like I know the structure well enough now, but at this point, right? I know well enough about the mannequin. Maybe I should just relax and just try and draw the pose a little more than the actual like parts of the body, you know, so much. Because I feel like I'm spending a lot of the time, you know, moving things around and messing around and stuff when, like, I can just throw something together like this. I don't really need all this underlying stuff as much as I utilize it, but I don't need it as much as I think I'm putting too much effort into that specific thing. I don't know if this really makes sense. It's hard to explain my thought process on this, but that's kind of how I'm feeling. Like some poses like this where it's more helpful when there's stuff hidden like this, you know? But I can still like measure points, like the leg starts at this shoulder, you know? I don't really need to rely so heavy on this underlying construction. And I think sometimes it's getting in my way because there's some like intricacies that like come up on top of this kind of underlying construction that I have trouble throwing in sometimes. I don't know how to explain it. I'm still kind of thinking through this, but I feel like I'm focusing too much on the underlying stuff is all I can really say. I think this one is pretty good, hey? That being said, it really does help me with the proportions. You know, laying things out and really thinking about it and like the balance and stuff. Like I think I'm really getting better at that as time goes on. So here's yesterday's. Like this one's pretty nice. And like I'm slowly figuring out like eye level and stuff, you know? I'm slowly getting there. My cat is snoring. Yeah, pretty good. I'm pretty happy with my poses. Like pretty much at the end of every day, even if I had a rough day, like today was pretty rough. I think I did okay either way though. Like this one, you know, I think focusing on like, oh, trying to find the top of this pelvis, like just draw what you see, you know? You don't really need to spend all this time trying to find these weird construction shapes, you know? I can just draw what I see, I think. What was I talking about? Who cares? It's probably nothing worthwhile anyway. And like stuff like this, like the bend in the back. It's hard to get this angle across, this like pinch, you know, when I'm really relying on these shapes too much. I think I need to separate them. That's one thing. I'm doing them a little too big. They're mostly guides, you know? But what I'm doing is I'm kind of using them as the main form as well, you know? I don't know. I have to think about it. Something is bothering me about the way I'm doing poses. And I'm not sure what it is, but it's on my mind. So we'll leave it there. And yeah, talk about what I did this week. So I've been practicing line art this week. So if you look at this, all of the lines in here are pretty weird, you know? Like it's just a constant edge all across. And you know, sometimes that looks good. Like it sort of looks like a stamp, you know? I like the effect of that sort of a thing, but I don't know. I was thinking about trying to like vary my line weight this week. So this is my first attempt at kind of like, because up until now I've basically just grabbed a brush and just drawn lines. You know, I've never really thought about what lines I want to do, which lines I want more thick or whatever, you know? And so I was thinking about that this week. So this was day one. This was on the Monday of last week. And I was just trying to think about, okay, how do I want to do my lines? You know, I'll do a thicker one for the outer contour. How about that? I'll start there. And, you know, like I said, it's a cool effect, but it's kind of, you know, I could work on this and make it look a little better, but like the inner stuff, it's like, it's just a little weird. So it's not exactly there. So the next day, I tried to vary my lines a little bit. And looks like she's holding a donut. This is supposed to be like a pool inflatable, like an inner tube or something, you know? But it kind of doesn't come across because she's not wearing a swimsuit, you know? But anyway. So I tried to vary my line weight a bit here. And you can see like my brush isn't really changing all that much. It's just kind of getting darker and it's a little fuzzy. Still not quite there, you know? But I'm trying some new things out. Trying like gaps in the line art. I think that's kind of cool from time to time, you know? And there's not really any detail lines in this. Like it's basically just the outer contours. So the drawing feels kind of empty. There's just like the shadow lines and then the inner stuff. So there's a lot of other things that are important when you're doing line art that I kind of realized this week. I kept it grayscale so that I didn't really have to think about color. And I could just focus on one thing, you know, just thinking about lines. So here's the next day. I adjusted my brush a bit, so now it's a little smaller at the end. You know, I start big and then go kind of small. And I like that. I think these legs and like the feet turned out pretty good. And this skirt was fun. Boy, skirts are hard. I think this week I'm going to focus on clothing a little bit. But you can see like all this stuff in here, it's like the same. It just looks kind of messy to me. And I can't really, and like the hair, you know, I just throw it in, whatever. Like the pose and everything looks fine, right? But the lines are a little, like the reason I've been focusing on the lines is because it's the glaring thing that you know, everything else is okay, but the lines themselves are rough. So I'm focusing on that this week, right? And I can't quite figure it out, you know, it's taken me a bit. But I think so that was that one. And then this one was next. I think I'm getting there, you know? I lowered the brush size a little bit. And then what I did is, I think I was going with, initially I was using like this brush and doing it like all kind of consistently this size. And that's pretty big. And so what I did is I lowered it to like, I lowered it by 50% the brush size just in general. And then just kind of starting with this smaller part and then like thickening it up where I want to, you know? If I want it thick, I can thicken it. But if I start with something big, then it's all going to be kind of consistently big. So that's kind of one change that I made. I think it was on this day. I don't really remember, but at some point I made that change. And I think it's getting there. It's getting a little better. But like I said, that's mostly the outer contour lines. The inner stuff, like these detail lines, I don't really know. Like for the shadows and like the folds in the clothing, I'm just kind of throwing in random lines with the same brush and kind of the same size. So I don't know how to do that. I'm still thinking about it, but I'm getting there. Like there's more character to this, to the line art this way. And this skirt was really fun. I spent a long time working on this skirt. So that was that. And then I kind of grouped them all together and put a little bit of color on them. I'm pretty happy with how this week of practice turned out, because like starting with this, you know, really bulky and flat and weird, and then like kind of winding up with something like this ribbon here, right? Let me go back to the non-color version. I think the ribbon looks pretty nice, right? The line weight helps kind of with kind of the shape of it, you know what I mean? And so there's like, I'm kind of thinking about the philosophy of my lines lately. And I think I'm getting there. It's going to take me a while, but it's a week specifically practicing this sort of thing was helpful. And now I kind of have an idea of what I want to do, and I'll think about it. You know, I'll keep it in the back of my mind as I go forward. So yeah, I'm happy with it. And the results are pretty nice, like I'll show you in a minute here. The next day though, I played Passepartout again. Ignore this weird golden Lena inverse. I was drawing on like a block of gold here, some sort of weird canvas. So it wound up looking weird, but this game is really fun. So I did some random fan art, and I liked doing this one, the Rainy Devil here. So I wound up doing it again the next day. Yeah, I did the noodle here, and then this one was really fun. I spent like probably an hour and a half or something on this one. Just copying. All these are just copies from screenshots or whatever, right? I think this one turned out really good, the Inuyasha one. I'm really having fun with this game. It's kind of a nice way of relaxing and kind of practicing what I've been working on a bit. Not necessarily this week because I was working on line art, but you know, I like the way I did the color of this. Like using the shadow instead of like line art for this kind of part. I like that idea. Anyway. So I liked the Rainy Devil idea. I decided to do it again for my take for the prompt. And utilizing some of the ideas that I had with the line art, right? Thicker areas and like thinner areas and like gaps, right? And like really thin here and then like openings in the legs. This one turned out pretty good. I think it's a little messy in the hand, hey, now that I look at it. I could have cleaned up some of these lines. Some of them are a little crazy. But yeah, this one was a lot of fun. I spent, I think it was, what was it? Almost 5 hours. 4 hours and 45 minutes or something on this one in total. Yesterday. It's pretty fun. And I'm getting there, right? I'm figuring it out. I think the brush that I used for the shadows is a little too fuzzy, almost. You can see it's got kind of a rough edge to it, whereas the other lines are a little more soft. So I think I might change the brush that I used for the line art. For the shadows. But all in all, I'm pretty happy. And for the background, this weird effect, I used some random brush that I got. Which one is it? Yeah, it like takes it and like messes with the... There's a few of them. You know, who knows? I don't know how it works. But I was just messing with it and it gave me some cool effects, so it was fun. I had a lot of fun with this one, in general. I think working on the line art really helped me elevate this piece, though, because everything else, like I said, everything else I can do, like posing and coloring, like, sure, it's fine. It's at like a level I'm happy with, but the line art itself, I was disappointed in. So focusing specifically on that last week, just going into this with some sort of philosophy with my lines, thicker in some places and lighter in others, you know, that's a good start. I'll work from there, you know, that's all I really need. So, so yeah, this one was really fun. And that's my week in review. I don't have anything else to say, do I? I guess not. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week with another week in review. Thanks again, and I'll see you then. Take care. Cut!